Aloha, hey, it's Julie Ziemlis, 365 Hawaii with Real Broker. And today I am not very well with my voice experience here. I'm kind of sick. But the good news is I've got three amazing men who are going to be able to help us talk to us about mortgages. And we're going to talk a little bit about the West Hawaii market. We're missing some of our people. So we're going to give you a little bit more information about what's happening with the insurance thing and about being an investor and how that affects things that you do when you buy and sell. Let's get right to the numbers and let's have Travis Green from Guild Mortgage tell us a little bit about what's going on with the mortgage rates and how's it going to affect buyers coming into the market right now. Go for it, Trav.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. So since the last video, mortgage rates have increased. I think the last video rates were down around 6.125, something like that, which was fantastic. It was not long lived. So average 30-year fixed today, according to Mortgage News Daily, which is a source that I like to use as opposed to Freddie Mac because I think it's a little more accurate.
Mhm.
Average 30-year fixed today, 6.68. So we're up half a point in a little over 2 weeks. And I've been encountering a lot of confusion from borrowers on this because they go, well, the Fed cut rates. They did a half a point cut. Why are rates higher? And importantly, a couple of days after the Fed meeting, we got a jobs report, non-farm payrolls that came out way stronger than expected. 100,000 jobs, basically stronger than expected. And the data that's come out since then has likewise been pretty strong. So consumer price index, which is an inflation gauge, was mixed. Um, and just today we got retail spending that was really strong, beat expectations. So it shows that the economy continues to have strength. The labor market has strength. There's still pretty sustained wage growth, and the U.S. consumer is on average pretty well equipped to handle the current economy. I know a lot of people say that this is a really tough economy, and it is. Things are expensive, but I mean, people are spending money, and they tend to have a pretty strong balance sheet right now, and a lot of that comes from wealth in their home equity and low mortgage rates that they locked in during the pandemic. But yeah, so all of that has contributed to mortgage rates going higher because the Fed rate does not directly dictate what mortgage rates do. The reason they were lower when they were is the bond market had already fully priced in this half a point rate cut, and so the mortgage market got there first, right? And then now we're always looking at what's about to happen, right? So mortgage rates are about what's coming and not what just happened. And so now the expectation is that at the next Fed meeting, which is right after the election, so I think it's November 7th, election day is November 5th. Make sure you're registered. But the next Fed meeting is November 7th, and nobody expects a half a point rate cut at that one. So now it's between a 0 and a 1/4 point. And the bond market thinks about 90% chance that it'll be 1/4% of a rate cut or 25 basis points. And then about a 60% chance that they'll do that again, 1/4 point cut in December. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing with rates. And as long as we continue to see evidence that the economy is kind of on good footing and chugging along, we're probably going to have rates follow this pattern. And it would take weakness showing up in the probably mostly in employment to change course really.
Well, that sucks.
But compared to a year ago this time, we were right around 8%.
Okay, that
So
sucks too. Okay.
the 6.68 is not, my favorite number. Um, I'm glad I didn't, I got all my people to lock before the spending report. I had a couple of people that locked this week before the spending report came out today. And then I was able to lock some folks in prior to the Fed meeting last month. Um, and so, they didn't get exposed to the couple of spikes that we've had. But yeah, we're back around where we were in early August, late July, early August.
Okay. So, okay.
Sometime.
So speaking of like locking rates and things like that, I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's now it's like you said, it's not really going to go down. It's probably going to be flat from where we're at right now, and maybe a little bit. So, how important is it right now? Because there's nothing else that's going to happen. There's no Fed meeting. The election isn't happening. How important right now is it to lock? Like, I mean, just kind of if people are looking to buy a house or trying to get into a mortgage right now, is there any like, rush to that at this point?
Yeah, my advice to people is always like, if the numbers that you are seeing, being presented by your lender make
Mhm.
sense and are doable and comfortable for you, and you feel good about it, go ahead and lock. You're not gonna, you're not gonna successfully time the market. Um, and right now we're kind of in a period where there's kind of a vacuum because the next, you know, the next things that are really going to come out are going to be, I think we get personal consumptions expenditure, which is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. I think we get that on November 1st. Other
Okay.
than that, there's the election and the Fed meeting.
Okay.
So, and weekly jobless claims and stuff like that, but just kind of the routine weekly reports. But there's no kind of like blockbuster
Thank,
reports
yeah.
scheduled to come out before the next Fed meeting. So, what happens in situations like this is the markets might swing a little bit based on comments to the press, like unscripted comments to the press from members of the Federal Reserve, things like that, or a worsening of the situation in the Middle East, right? And so, because especially when it comes to oil prices, and
Mm.
so, when volatility increases over there, like when Israel and Iran are trading their tit for tat, the price of oil goes up, and so that has a ripple effect pretty quickly on the cost of food, and so that's an inflation gauge or that's an early inflation indicator for things that consumers have to spend money on, that we pay attention to.
No, that's cool.
I would say it's good to lock. Like, don't try to like outsmart the market. Like, you're not what's his name from The Big Short.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So just go ahead and lock and stop thinking about it. It's kind of like when you open escrow on a property, you go under contract. It's good to like stop opening Zillow and looking at the newest listings,
They
right?
always
Like,
do it. They always do it.
yeah,
We
you're
track
under
our
contract.
buyers.
Don't torture yourself. Just like, move forward.
Right. It is so funny you say that. Because all of our people are on listing alerts and never seeing them. Like 3 days after they buy a house, they're still looking on MLS. I'm like, no, 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 you're
Mhm.
fine. You got what you needed. Stop.
You
Right.
need to turn them off on your MLS system, right?
Yeah.
You can, I mean, I forget to do that all the time too, but
Yeah. Yeah. It
it
should get it should get a pop-up. You're done here.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
looking.
You're cut off. You're
You
cut
made a
off.
good decision. Trust it. Um, so the sad thing is we've been doing this every month. Hey, things are gonna get better. Waiting for those fives in 2025. And oh, towards the end of the year, we'll probably be down to six. So welcome to the world, right? And that's why it's like you can't trust anything in the world because things happen, right?
Yeah, and I still think that we will see fives through in 2025. Um, and even in early September, when rates dipped to 6.125 on average, I did close a couple of loans with rates that started with a five.
Oh,
Both cases, they had some seller concession, and it made sense for them to put it towards the discount points and buy their rate down a little bit. But
mhm.
we're talking 5.875 at a time where it was like that was, pretty easily within reach for them. And now we'd really be talking, a similar buy down would be getting them to, six and a quarter, 6.375, something like that. So yeah, I do think that we'll still get there. The Fed they've started on a cutting. We are in a cutting cycle,
Mhm.
and so that you know that's going to play out over the next couple of years, and we'll see that in mortgage rates. So it is discouraging in the short term that we don't get this like boost going into Q4 with like 6% rates. That was really exciting.
Mhm.
I even got a refi done in that period of time, in that little window. I helped somebody refinance that bought late last year. But I, I'm I know that next year we will. I'm confident that next year we will see lower rates than where we are right now.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so the people who are watching, if you find a house you love right now, it's always a good time to buy a house, right? And you can figure out a way to like refinance down the road, right? But
Mhm.
if you're still like in that, am I doing this? Am I getting my act together? There might be some good news ahead. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not talking dramatically different, right? We're not talking 3.5%. We're talking 6%, 5.75, ideally, like
Yeah.
kind of best case scenario. But again, who knows? Anytime we prognosticate about what's going to happen with rates, we get humbled. So I would just say, you know, listen to your real estate, listen to your lender, and find a place that works for you. If it works for you at 6.5%, it's going to work even better for you at 6 or 5.5 or 4. And if you get the chance to refi in the future, great. And so my advice is, find a property, lock in your rate, close on it, make your payments, build equity, and refi when you can.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
I
Okay.
got a question for you real quick off of, all those jobs reports and everything that's looking better than they expected. I mean, have you guys, I have changed my spending habits significantly in the last 6 months because it just seems like things have gotten out of hand, but they keep saying that things are great. Have you guys shifted your spending habits at all? How do you feel?
I would
Well,
say
okay.
I would say it sure seems like everything's a lot more expensive these days, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't used to break 300 buying groceries for a long time, and now, we're definitely up there. Supposedly, I've seen some items come down, but in general, you're right. And then if you start seeing everything being so bloody expensive, you're kind of starting to pull back a little bit. But it's kind of like I think you pull back, but since everything else is so expensive, it looks like we're doing really well, right? I mean, it seems kind of one of
Yeah.
those one. But yeah, it's an interesting thought of how do you adjust in the world?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you too, just to give you like a bellwether. So I was fundraising for this event I'm trying to do, like a festival. And I've been spending the last 2 or 3 weeks looking for sponsorships around town. And Travis, I love you because literally you're my only sponsor. And so um, I'm getting a feeling from the business community that something is happening. And it makes me kind of go like, what's going on?
Um,
And we have some local pressures like with parking and things like that. But I've been asking people, I'm like, well, why do you think some of the businesses are kind of like pulling? And they use the old, we're waiting for the election. People are worried and that they just want to make sure that they get through the election and then they can go into the holidays and they're going to feel better. So let's see how that goes. But in terms of like everything else, Eric and I were going to have this big party for our anniversary, and I'm like, oh yay, we're going to have a big party for the anniversary. And but like 2 years ago, when it was 2022 and we were going crazy, Lance came to this one. We rented out the entire restaurant.
yeah.
Right? And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, whoa. This time I was like, oh, okay, everybody, I'm going to pay for the first round of champagne. You're on it for your own.
You're on your own. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Travis, have you changed your spending habits?
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, and I have a toddler at home, and so I noticed when the price of blueberries fluctuate.
Oh,
And so,
I paid
I,
at Island Natural yesterday. I paid $11 for blueberries.
shut up, that's insane.
It's like,
Um,
ouch.
but for how much,
Well,
right?
it was. I mean, it was the standard. It was
a
a
little bit bigger
standard.
than the standard one.
Yeah,
A little bit bigger
Oh,
than, yeah.
KTA. It
yeah,
was like
yeah.
it was
No,
like
I know.
5.49.
And but the and yeah, it was at Island Natural, so you get what you
They're
get.
probably organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our
You got
But
the
no,
focus.
Lance, I think the story is you haven't gotten over how expensive things are. So I say I'm pulling back because of that. You know what I mean? Just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
It's
well, when you
just
see $8 for a loaf of bread, you're like, oh, how bad do I need that bread?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
was,
I mean, even though inflation's come down, right? Like it peaked at 9%, and inflation now is bumping around at 2.5. That doesn't take away the increases that we've already banked, right? And so on average, the cost of things are just in general more expensive compared to 2019 they're about 19% more expensive now, right? So like
yeah,
across the board, that's the
yeah.
average.
Yeah.
And some things are way more than that. Some things are a little bit cheaper, like consumer electronics. But on average, the things that we buy are almost 20% more expensive than they were a few years ago. And that's
Even,
yeah.
just
yeah, even cars. The cost of
oh my
cars.
God, every
Yeah.
car is $70,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other one I just saw recently that kind of ties into this. This is Young Brothers Shipping. They are just first of all, they got two new barges, which is great, so they can ship more goods. And then they decided to raise their prices by 20 to 30%. So and it was, they're
Pay for those barges.
I know somebody's got to pay
Who's
for it,
that
but
pay for it?
yeah, you couldn't have used the barges for a little more or something.
Man, what a cartel.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
We're stuck. We don't have any choice.
No, we
It's like
don't.
parking downtown.
Right.
There's no
Yeah, exactly.
option.
It's like, oh, what we're gonna
Yeah.
do? But
Yeah.
okay, speaking of that though, about everyone has to pay for something. The hurricane disaster in Florida and along that near the coast. We were talking about this ahead of time. Somebody's gonna have to pay for this. And I no, Travis, I wanted to talk to you about, will you touch upon what's going on with you know, we're having this like insurance crisis and HOA fees are going up, and that's affecting some people's ability to get mortgages. I mean, what are you hearing out there?
Yeah, this is why insurance costs are going up, is because not only has the value of property gone up quite a bit over the last 4 years, 5 years, but the frequency and dollar loss amounts of these natural disasters is increasing, right? And so I think this was a particularly costly hurricane season.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's like it's we can expect to see more. Um, and so it's I don't know, it's hard to wrap your head around the cost, right? Like the lives, the property, everything. And in places like Asheville, North Carolina, and whole
Yeah.
cities washed away and stuff like that. It's insane. And the other thing that is uh, that happens when these disasters strike. I see this email come out from our operations staff where it's like they send out an update, and it talks about what cities and towns and counties are affected by certain um, like internal emergency declarations, where basically like you're not funding, you're not recording, you're not closing on real estate in the Tampa area, maybe now, but for like when the governor or the president declares a state of emergency or a disaster area, that has knock-on effects too on the local economy and on the real estate market,
Mhm.
because things come to a standstill. And so that means, sellers aren't getting their payout, buyers aren't purchasing homes, everybody has to freeze in place, locks have to get extended. But that's one thing. But the insurance thing is, this is just, this is exactly why insurance costs are going up across the board, for all of us. I would not be surprised if we see more You know, a lot of insurers are already out of the Florida market, and the state has to backstop a lot of their insurance. And so, you know, I wonder if that gets taken up elsewhere, or if they have to say, you know, maybe we can't, you know, maybe we have to have a state income tax. You know, that's a choice that they make, right? Where they do not have a state income tax, and maybe, you know, maybe that's a revenue source that they have to tap in order to shore these things up. I don't know, but it's gonna. I mean, it'll continue.
So my question is this, is that our insurance raised quite a bit here to sort of compensate for all these crazy natural disasters that are happening. And the bill that was sold to us is that, don't worry, it'll calm down after a couple of years because they'll figure out a way to pay for it. But at the end of the day, if you keep having all of these, you know, huge disasters that continue on of, you know, hundreds of miles of shoreline and everything gets destroyed, it's going to continue on. I mean, it doesn't sound like that, you know, insurance rates are going down anytime soon if the natural disasters keep going.
Well, when we burn everything down and it's mowed all down across the United States, there'll be nothing left to insure. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's like the beatings will continue until morale improves.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe insurance will just get so prohibitively expensive that it exerts its own downward pressure on values. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
just,
all right.
we
So,
just had a close.
Julie, if I could go next, I've got kind of got kind of an example of that kind of fits in with our. So we normally do our three neighborhoods: Lokahi Makai, Pualani Estates, and Ali'ilani. And Ali'ilani is the condos. And it's interesting to look at them today. Is that the two residential complexes residential areas are not doing that bad, but Ali'ilani has had a huge shift, and part of that is because of the fact that the insurance went up pretty significantly at Ali'ilani. So we'll go over it. Let's start with Lokai Makai, and there is one active listing, and it is high. It's 1,275,000. It's been on the market for 73 days, and it has a pool solar system, PV, and it's owned. And it's already had a $20,000 price reduction. So we're probably normal. There's usually one or two listings on there. And I would say price-wise is a little high, but that's probably why it's sitting there for 73 days and is not going anywhere. There were three homes that did sell, one at 980, 9 days on the market, 9,000 under, one at 965, 49 days on the market, and 24,000 under, and one at 1,040,000, 7 days on the market, and 59,000 under. So all of them have had decreases in price to sell for that. Pualani Estates, there are three active listings right now. One at 995, and it's been on the market 120 days with no price reductions. The next one is 1,039,000, and it's been on 114 days, no price reduction. And one at 1,049,000, and it's been on 12 days, no price reduction. So what we can see here is it looks like that they, with all those hundreds of days on the market, it looks like everything might be a little on the priced high side. There was one that sold at 1,025,000, and that was 84 days on the market, and they had a $24,000 price decrease. So that's Pualani Estates. Now, here's the Ali'ilani, which is the interest one, is that we have, 4 or 5 or 6 that are usually on there. This month, we have 11, and that was down. It was, I think it got up to 14 or 15 at one time. So, and the price range area goes from 433,000 to 569,000. And there was one outlier, which was a double unit, so we're not counting that one. And 7 of these are over 100 days on the market. But we did sell 5. So here you go. And I'm thinking what we were talking about is that the price of condos are going to go down, and these look to be a little bit lower on the price side. So the 5 that sold was 465,000, and it was 16 days on the market and 21 under asking price. The next one was 465,000, and it was 112 days, 5,000 under asking price. And the next one was 485,000. It was 72 days on the market and a $35,000 price reduction. And one was 520, 90 days on the market and a $10,000 price reduction. and one was $520,000, 34 days on the market, and a $13,000 price reduction. So it still looks like we're kind of working through the where is the prices if the insurance has gone up so much. And I'm sure after a few months we'll kind of settle down. But this kind of goes back to the idea that because of the insurance jumping, there's a lot of people in Elite Lonnie that are under fixed incomes and can't afford to keep up the HOA fees. But it didn't hit single family homes as much. They're more on the normal level for what's going on. So that's why we like to take track of these three different neighborhoods, because you kind of get an idea of what's kind of going on.
Yeah. What's interesting is they were at 550 for what, about a year and a half
Yeah.
running, that's so it is taking its toll. I've had people asking me recently, like, is this it? Is this what's going to change the world, right? Is this going to make it 2008 all over again? And of course it's not, but it is, but it will affect it some. And Eric just did a great example of that.
One thing that's interesting is that we did a little study about it was about now versus 2008, and one person that was surprised is how much money the people have. They made so much money with their real estate, and nobody, they don't have any mortgages, and so there's they're just holding on to large sums of money. So it's going to take something really big to shake them out. A little bit of insurance money it will shake some people out, but it's not going to change it's not going to be 2008 again.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it's been Elite Ilani showing it so much because that's workers, that's
Yeah,
people
that's the
incomes.
lower end of it. But that's
Yeah,
why we loved including it, is because it's such a good example of
yeah.
what's going on. And there's 350 units there, just to give an idea of proximity of how big this complex is.
And prior to COVID, it was common to see 10 listed at any time, right?
Oh, okay, right. So maybe we're just going back to a more normal environment.
We're just going to normal market, but for people that have just gotten into it, this seems like it's huge. Like, how can there be 10 for sale? I've been looking for 3 years, right? But
Yeah.
that was our kind of normal. Remember when we would sit here
Yeah.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, that was our normal.
Yep. Okay, well let's segue right into then Lance. Tell them, I know that you did a report a week ago, but some people might have missed it. But tell them a little bit about what's happening in West Hawaii with the statistics and what you're seeing.
So a big thing that had me concerned, and I always start watching very, very closely when I get concerned because I love the numbers. But we only sold nine, no, I'm sorry, it was 11 condos last month was all that we sold for the entire month. So that was 1/3 of where we should have been. So it was a big eye opener, and it's kind of like, what's happening, what's going on. So I've been watching every day, and today is what is the date today? 17th. So month to date, we're at 13 and we were at 26 last month. So we're back on track. The people have gotten over the shock. We're seeing it come in. The median price is 600,000 for condos right now, and it was like 572 a year ago. So I think we're seeing a little bit of leveling, the shock.
Hey, Lance, question for you. Do you think
Yeah.
that drop might have been because that's by the time the HOA fees, the raises of the insurances were causing the HOA fees was kind of, in other words, it took a while for everything to kind of reset, and it was kind of taking a little bit of time to get there. Do you think that has something to do with it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that completely. Then that's what's happening. So that's why I've been following it every day. I'm like, okay, we're almost tracking one a day. And if I look at homes that have sold for the month are at 18, and we sold 30 last year. So today being the 17th, I think there's 30 days
Right
this
on.
month.
Yeah.
So we're right on track.
31 days.
31 days. Yeah. So we're selling 1.1 a day, so yeah, we're right on track. So things are mellowing back out. Median price on the homes dropped a little bit. I think it was 1.2 something last year, and it's just over 1 million right now. So that's a good sign, unless you bought last year and you need to sell. But
Like those people in Pool on the estates.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. But what I did want to jump into, we were kind of talking about the other day, and we thought we would kind of focus in on this because we just did our report last week, I think, or 10 days ago on this. Uh, we're looking at, the question was, how many people are buying that are local or live here or kind of what's happening in the on the Big Island here. So I pulled up some really cool statistics, and on these statistics, it's interesting to see foreign buyers. So foreign buyers, what do you think our biggest foreign buyer, what country did our biggest foreign buyer come from? I didn't show anybody this month, so this is not a
I
set.
would
Go
have
ahead,
thought
Travis.
it was Canada for a while, but I think that we're not trading the right way with them at this point.
So
Um,
you're in Canada or you're choosing
yeah.
something?
I don't know what
I'm
to pick. Go.
I say Japan.
Japan.
Is that for the
Travis?
whole? Wait. Is that for the whole state or this island?
This is about Big Island. This is
Okay.
Big Island.
I say
Travis?
Canada.
What'd you say, Travis?
Canada.
Canada. And Travis wins. Julie,
I
you should
said
have stuck
Canada.
with your first one.
What did I say? I said Canada. What'd you say? What's
Canada, both you guys, it was Canada. So
okay?
just really quick, there was 19 sales to Canadian citizens. And this is only updated to mid-year. So they don't have all the way up to third quarter. They only do this every quarter.
Okay.
So halfway through the year, 19 Canadians bought. Pick our next buyer. Throw a name out there.
In terms of like anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Japan. Would Japan be
Okay.
the
Got Japan. Travis, you got a guess or no? I'd have
No,
guessed Japan myself.
I
Go
would.
ahead, Eric.
I can't even think of where else they come from. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Those are the two biggest places.
So we went from 19 Canadians purchase to two from Hong Kong purchase. That
Oh,
one from Japan and one
All right.
from New Zealand. So there's
New
not,
Zealand? That's what I
Hong
was looking for
Kong.
the
All
other
right.
one. Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
not a ton
Isn't
of
it
foreign buyers
interesting that
coming.
we only get those mostly those two foreign buyers,
Yeah.
Canada and Japan. Yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
remember Canadian buyers were big. I used to keep the dollar widget on the conversion rate, right? The dollar widget back in, that was all new stuff to have on your desktop back in what year was that, Travis? You remember probably 2010 or something like that? The
probably.
dollar was strong and our prices were cheap and they really did good with
But
investors.
as my understanding, it's really expensive for the Canadians right now to buy. That's kind of what the issue is, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So
Their affordability issue is as bad as the US.
wow. Wow. Well, and also, we were just talking too about how Hawaii is not exactly friendly towards international buyers because of the massive amount of tax you're going to pay when you sell your property,
yeah,
right?
right.
So, I mean, when you lose 30% of your income, I mean, of your profit, at least
Well,
that,
it's interesting
right?
too because they tried to actually make that even where they banned foreign buyers, but it would
Yeah.
seem kind of when you're looking at these kind of numbers, it really we spend a lot of money, or they spend a lot of money fighting something that really isn't going
Doesn't
to fix
exist.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So if
bans
you
them
look at
from coming
by
from
the
the West
top
Coast.
state, what do you think the top state was that bought? And this is too easy. Besides Hawaii, but Hawaii is the number one buyer of Hawaiian properties, so that kind of
See,
answers their
that's
question.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
I say
Was
California.
it Nevada?
Nope. Julie, what'd you say?
California.
No.
Eric?
See, I'm going to say Washington.
Okay. Top state by number of sales. Hawaii's at 1,104. California's at 493.
Wow.
Washington State's at 76.
Ooh.
Alaska is at 37.
Wow.
Texas is at 36. That surprised me. Oregon is at 34. Florida, get this, 31. 31 will probably increase. I need to start
I'll bet we're
marketing
going to
in
get a bunch
Florida.
from
Yeah.
Florida. They're going to say, I really want my
Take,
ocean still, but my house is gone.
yeah.
So,
Take your payout from Florida. Give me a call. Give
yeah.
any of us a call.
Yeah.
Give all of us a call, and we'll work with you. So
Yeah. I got some
Colorado
property
was
to tell
next.
you that's not next to the ocean.
Oh, in the top 10, though, Colorado was next at 30, Arizona was at 30, and Nevada was at 27. So thought that was some interesting numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I would
Where do
thought
you
that
think
Washington was
what's
higher.
the best area you think, or the favorite area that you think that the Canadians were buying?
Here
Um,
on the Big Island, right? That's what you're saying? On the
Yeah,
Big
Big
Island.
Island only. Yep,
I'm going to say they're buying on the Kahala Coast
you got it. Kohala Coast.
because
because
they're
they got those
investors.
condos there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a whole bunch of people that are still thinking that you know, buying inexpensive land in Puna is all that. So we're still
Okay.
told that.
So it's interesting. The only foreigner that bought in Puna was there was actually 4 Canadians that purchased in Puna,
Okay, there you go.
and nobody else. Yep. Hawaii, 470 people bought in Puna. California, there were 67 buyers. Florida, 18, or I'm saying 19. Texas, 19, and Washington, 16. That was our
Well,
top buyers.
there you go. Thank you for
Yeah.
the statistics. You were always a font of knowledge there, buddy.
I like to just change it up sometimes so that
Yeah, yeah,
they
it's
don't know
good
what
because
to
people don't
expect.
know. That's good. That's good.
So, all right. So, kind of little side note from this. If Florida's having such a hard time right now in terms of we know that they're going to get, there's a lot of people that are not going to be able to rebuild just by it's going to get way too expensive, especially if they start thinking they need to build on stilts or whatever to build where they're going to build anymore. Are we going to see some of that because it's a similar, lifestyle and climate that they're used to? Do you think they're going to come out here?
It's more expensive here, though.
University of Hawaii has put together that shoreline. I forget the name of that. You guys, you're familiar with that program, right?
The
The
flooding,
shoreline rise,
Seawater,
the sea
seawater
level
rise.
rise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so really there's nothing. If you pick the worst case scenario in Kona for the next 50 years, there's just really nothing that's going to be hit by it. So
I just saw that report because I had to look at it, and what I found it was interesting is they also had a flood report, and that one was a little more interesting. That there are some
mhm.
places that will definitely, on the ocean that will get flooded, right? I mean, even though the sea rise might not be that much, the king tides added to the whatever else is that's where your issues are gonna be.
Mhm.
yeah.
You're going to see a lot in on Oahu and things like that. But did you see it showing on the Big Island or
I was looking at Kona is the part I was looking at
Kona?
on
Yeah,
that one section of it.
interesting. Yeah,
But you're right. It's kind of funny because, well, first of all, we're also on a primary lava, right? So the answer
yeah.
is that the shoreline is not going to erode because you're not going to erode lava.
It'll take a couple million years to make
Yeah.
some more black sand beaches, I
Yeah,
think.
so all of you guys who are thinking about which island should you think about buying because of the future experience of climate change, Big Island at least is one big fat rock, and you're not going to have your house swept away in a beach like they do in Oahu because we don't have those kinds of houses built anywhere near a sandlot. So,
And what are we famous for? We've got the world's largest mountain and the world's tallest mountain. So,
yeah,
as
There you
yeah.
go.
In fact, you guys can throw in on this one. Somebody said, "Oh my gosh, why doesn't Kona have a wildfire mitigation plan for when high winds strike, where wildfire could be swept through neighborhoods and completely wipe out the town of Kona?" And we're like this. They forgot that we don't have those kinds of winds, especially, and then when we do have winds, it's usually Kona winds, and it's usually during the wintertime. There's rain attached to it. So, well, I mean, Lance, when was the last time we had 60-mile-an-hour hot winds coming through Kona?
you know what was interesting that when those fires hit Maui on that tragic day, I know up in Waimea they lost a lot of trees
Yeah,
and
and
we
Kauai
actually
got hit, and so did Kahala.
Yeah, and they had fires up north. We saw them. It was amazing on how much a lot got burned up there too.
yeah and
But
and
it's interesting. So
we got hit up here in Coloco. We had some scary strong winds that day.
During that time frame.
During that time frame. Yeah. Yeah. So we did, but that was weird, remember? Because that was from that hurricane that was long ways away from
Yeah,
us.
it
yeah.
kind of got
It
whipped around
sucked,
to
yeah,
there.
it was
Yeah.
really something
So
I've never seen in my 40 years here.
Yeah.
we went north yesterday on and it was a red flag day, which is those winds that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And we leave Kona, everything's fine. We drive, 20 miles and you look out in the ocean, you can see the waves starting, the white caps out there. And all of a sudden get somewhere on Waikoloa and then all of a sudden it blows like crazy for a while. You're right. I mean, so you're like that's the spot for it.
Yeah.
But we
Totally.
don't get the
Absolutely.
usual unless like something crazy happens, like a Kona low. For the most part, that's why Kona's hot. You can bitch about how hot it is because we don't get the wind. Because we didn't realize that that was a thing until we kept going to Maui and Oahu, where it's always windy on those islands. They're,
Yeah.
they're cooler and
Yeah.
they're
Totally.
windier. That mountain behind us, man, that just like stops a lot of that crazy from happening. So again, I
100%.
think that Kona is a pretty safe place to live. So,
Yeah.
we got Kogi frogs, but whatever. So, so also, we were going to talk a little bit about things you might not know about when you're closing escrow, and especially if you're coming in as a out-of-state buyer, is that keep an eye if you're selling it. And I don't know why sometimes sellers act like they aren't too sure because maybe they just don't know. But if you're an out-of-state buyer, you're going to have withholding, which is HARPTA, which is the Hawaii HARP AR withholding tax, something. I don't know exactly what that stands for, but basically it's a state withholding tax. And if you think, because we've had this happen twice, if you think that you are selling your property, you have not made a profit, you can actually apply to the state, and they can actually waive your HARPTA fees. So when you close escrow, you actually don't have to lose anything, but you actually have to be able to basically prove that you are basically selling without a profit. And you can talk to the title company, and your realtor will help you with that, of getting that form filled out way in advance, because you have to do it at least 10 days before close of escrow, if not a little longer, because if you do it too late, then escrow just takes that money out and you're not going to see it until you file your taxes in the spring. So that's one. Second of all, is the fact that they tell you during your close of escrow, if you're buying, that it's your responsibility to file your homeowner's exemption. So when you look around and go, oh, the person who owned my house before I did was an investor and they have a horrible tax base, within the time, like I use about 6 months, if you are living in that house full time, you get the 4% rate that residents receive, but you can't get that unless you file for it. And that is your responsibility. And hopefully your realtor will remind you to do that. But I just want to make sure, because people keep coming back and going, I didn't know. So there you go. There's your PSA for buying and selling. Do you guys have anything else that might people get shocked about?
Yeah, the big one is that the lenders, that's why we always encourage people to use a local lender, because a lot of states on the mainland fund the day they close, and they don't get it. No matter how many times you tell them on the phone and you send them an email about the Good Funds Act, here in Hawaii, oh yeah, yeah, no, we don't have to close. We've been doing this a long time, and it's like, nope, we're closing, and they're so, yep, we're wiring on Wednesday when we close. It's like, no, we've told you 8 times it has to be there by Monday. And it doesn't, so that's a big thing, is use a local lender that understands what is happening here in the islands, because a lot of
Right.
them, they don't know lava zones, they don't know tsunami zones, things like
S
that.
pools.
Cesspools,
Yeah,
I've encountered that.
condo tells.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
yeah. I have encountered specifically cesspools where somebody like they sent me a quote from a different lender that was just some, online lender.
Yahoo.
And I called them and I was like, I talked about the property. I didn't say who I was. I was just like, hey, I want to buy a property and blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's on a cesspool. Is that a problem for you guys? And they were like, I don't know. What's a cesspool? And and they were like, how do you spell that? And I literally had to spell it for them. And then they were like, I gotta talk to my manager. And then they're like, is it okay if we call you back? And I was like, sure. So like 30 minutes later, they call me back and they're like, hey, I talked to my manager and yeah, that's no can do for us, boss. Cesspool's environmental hazard that is an ineligible characteristic for us. And I was like,
Wow.
thanks for that.
Yeah.
Um, so I called
Interesting.
that.
you know
Called the
what?
bar.
Wait,
Guess
let's
what?
just tell the group here, because some people watch us sometimes for the first time when they're thinking about buying houses on Hawaii. Um, we want you to know, and Lance knows almost exactly how many cesspools are on this island. I think it's
Yeah.
11,000.
Put 49,000.
49,000.
Two out of
So
every three homes that sell in the Big Island's on a cesspool almost.
yeah.
So
And,
so
most people go like
60%.
this. Yeah, and I actually had some buyers go, now get me a property that doesn't have a cesspool. I'm like,
Good luck.
well, you're gonna have to go one by one on the property experience on that one.
Yeah,
So yes, and we've always talked about this. Lance is like, at some point it's gonna be converted or something's gonna have to happen. But
right.
now too, if you're not talking to a lender that understands that we live on this crazy rural experience and we have cesspools.
Cool
So
news though
Yeah.
on that, really quick, is I have a meeting with UH on Tuesday. UH's University of Hawaii, somebody from there. They were given a grant last year to overlay the current cesspool prioritization tool that they have out, and they were given a grant to now add into that layers is the existing sewer lines and the proposed sewer lines.
Hmm.
So that will get a lot of people a free pass. If you're within a block or two of existing and you're still in a cesspool, they're not going to force you to convert. And if you're in a proposed area, so we're meeting to talk about that. They're in the middle of working
That's
on
so
it. They
cool.
wanted to know what realtors were looking for in it. So
Lance, how many do you think that would take off? I mean, getting on a sewer system instead of converting over to a from the cesspool.
I think the important thing it's not gonna be a huge number, but the important thing is going to be the ones along the shoreline. The ones
Uh,
all that stuff along Elite Drive that's older homes up above Elite Drive there. A lot of that. So that's going to help. So that's the ones that are really leaching into the ocean and where we get the problems up. The ones up here in Coloco, we're on 3 to 20 acres up here. We're never going to see sewer, but it's we really don't need it if you're on a cesspool or
Yeah.
septic tank up here. It's
Yeah,
not a big
yeah.
deal.
But next to
So
the ocean, I think
yeah,
it should be a
yeah.
key switch
And
over.
hopefully things, it's that area out there, Puaco, right, where they have to actually fill the they're obviously you can't do cesspool anymore, but they're having to fill the septic tank up with water to sink it because the water table is that high on the homes out there. And then they
These are
bury
$10
it in
million
rock.
homes, my friends.
Oh, yeah. And then they drain it out. So I mean that out there is just going straight into the ocean. Yeah, you might as well
Yeah,
just run a pipe to the beach.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of sad, but they hopefully they have something in the future. I can't wait to see what this is going to show. And
Yeah.
I hope they're
yeah,
doing
that's a
something
good
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep hoping that, like they have CES, the Consumer Electronic Trade Show, I wish there was like a wastewater management trade show where they keep thinking about innovation and they're going to throw something out to us one day that says, you don't have to do this. We've come up with this new innovation that you put like a little box in your yard and it's going to take care of all of your problems and you don't have to get a backhoe and it's not going to cost you $20,000 and it's going to make the world a better place.
So we're actually looking at some decentralized systems that are actually about if you drive by, I forget the name of those condos at the bottom of Kaiminani. You guys know what I'm talking about. If I think of the name. They have
Oh,
these things about the size of a container that actually is a decentralized station that
Hmm.
converts everything, all the solids into something that you can just
Yeah.
turn off.
Seascape condos.
Yeah, Seascape.
Yeah.
And
They have
and
their
they
yeah,
have
they have their own wastewater treatment.
Yeah. So they have their own
oh,
wastewater treatment plant. But the cool thing is we can eliminate two things because it's treated to a level that it can be used for irrigation. So you could actually make a green belt around your area to stop the wildfire
look
mitigation.
at that.
So you got two in one. I mean, so it's out there. The technology is out there and we see it coming. We just need to stop these companies that are pushing to have it converted right to a septic tank because that really
Right.
doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, but they say because that's not really a
Yeah.
solution either. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's another thing too for the people who are on this thing. Living on an island, we've got our problems, and wastewater is one of them. So, that's it's something that all the politicians have to look at that, as one of our major problems that they have to deal with because with everything that's happening right now, the is OSHA that's coming after us, and they're going to kick the butt of all they're basically going to
EPA.
find the EPA. They're going to find this island if we
Yeah.
can't figure out how we're going to clean this up, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So okay, so then okay, we did the mortgage, we got the insurance, we've got all the stuff. Any good news? Are homes coming on the market faster? Or no? I think they're just kind of like slowly. And also, you
I,
guys
I think
just have a
I think
down.
no bad news is good news. The fact that we're still kind of plunking along as normal is just is not bad.
Yeah, yeah. We're not getting a whole stuff. We're not getting stuff dumped on the market. I think that that was kind of like we started seeing more stuff being thrown on the market in January and February, and that's usually the time that we see the market start to pick up. So we're expecting the Ironman to come in next weekend, so that's kind of like people are here
That
sometimes.
wasn't good news, Julie.
Oh, well, sometimes when they show up, they look for homes. Yeah. And
Sorry.
I know
That was
it's
just a
so
gag.
funny.
That was
Lance
funny.
hates that. He probably will never come near the town during the whole Ironman experience. The 365 community fund, which we run, is actually taking on the nutrition aid station for 2 days in a row. We've got the volunteers. We're in there. We're making it happen. Eric's going to be in on Friday leading this charge. I'm going at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and doing it. And then Eric and I are going to be at the very end, at the very last minute, cleaning that up at the end of the Ironman experience. And I've never been there at the very, very end. So we're going to actually get a chance to see those people who are literally crawling to the finish line to try and break the time before they get cut off. So I know
It's
that you don't like that
amazing.
shit, but it's very interesting.
No, I'm going to just tell you a quick story because in my previous life, I was service manager at Volkswagen and they used to sponsor the race like
Oh,
25 years ago. And so I had finish line passes and we were in there at the back because it was amazing. And these athletes are amazing. So I'm not a hater, but I just want to get the hell out of town when the chaos is going on. So you hit
So
me up for the get away from Ironman party. Uh, so
Yeah, it's a
it,
so
good weekend
wait,
to go camping.
could
what?
we say that there what is about two-thirds for and one-third against, or is it 50-50? There's a lot of people in this town that are. It's just this is a sleepy town, and Ironman is not a sleepy event, and it just kind of it's one or the other. You either love it or you hate it.
I think there's more people against it, but they just be quiet and they chill and they relax and they just let it go on and they move on, you know. It's 2 weeks out of our lives and it's a pain and I just try to avoid the area. But I hear a lot of the locals, but the people in Kailua Kona town, I mean that town is, it brings in business and it brings in buyers that buy and
Yeah.
sell
Yeah.
too.
And
So
because we have the 501(c)(4, they're actually going to pay into the charity because we showed up with this volunteer experience. And I know that they do that for a lot of different organizations that bring in
yeah.
volunteers. So they do donate charity money to the community while it's
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the longer you stay here, you're like, oh yeah, yeah. When you first get to Kona, the fun thing to do is volunteer and get yourself in the middle of the mix, or at least go and see the whole experience because being an international race destination, there's all kinds of cool stuff. And then you start getting kind of on the crank because then you start going like this. All these athletes are training on the road and they don't obey the road signs. And oh my God, the crap that's left over. Keep your enthusiasm strong. Volunteer where you can. Go out there and watch it. And then if you really get to the point where you're like this, oh Lord, go on vacation during Ironman or go to Hilo. That's a great time to go see the botanical gardens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of happening. What's happening in Kona? In fact, Lance and I talked about this that during these updates, we did this with Amber last Wednesday for East Hawaii, and then we did it with Lance for West Hawaii. And then we're going to try and do it with the island-wide thing. Is that when you come and you get the housing statistics and the mortgage update, we hope to give you a little bit of more information about life here, a little lifestyle, some events, maybe things to look out for, because when you live here, it's a different experience. So, the whole Ironman thing is like it's a thing that you do in West Hawaii. So, okay. So we're going to wrap it up and we'll see you guys in November. And hopefully Janet comes back after her daughter has a baby today. And Delaney is selling a house and Amber's it's going to a
Hey,
conference. So we'll hope to get more people next time.
Amber sent me her report, you guys.
Oh,
She got tied up in a thing, but I'll just touch really quick. Just that she said that there is and this is your favorite part, there is a 7% sale in Puna and a 6% sale in South Ely.
there you go.
Um,
That means that the homes
okay.
are selling for 94%, 90,
Yeah, we
94.
got you covered, Amber. We got you.
There you go.
So
There you go.
thanks.
So it looks like across, okay, again, to wrap this up, because you have to do the update on it. It sounds like sellers are holding on. They're not dropping prices, at least in some of these neighborhoods. Some places there's deals to be made. It sounds like they're like when Eric was reading the statistics that under asking. Great time to go out there, find a house, and make a deal. So even with the interest rates the way they are, maybe some buyers kind of pulled out. You might have an opportunity because maybe the buyers are waiting, and you might have the show might be your own. So call us. We all sell real estate, and obviously Travis is our mortgage partner. We can help you get on the road to home ownership or investments in Hawaii Island. So thank you guys for being part of it, and have a great Halloween and be safe. And we'll see you in November. Okay.